Good afternoon and good morning, and it depends where you are, and also and thank William Hatcher and also, of course, the distinguished panelists that we're having today for this global launch of Understanding Globalization, Global Gaps, and Power Shift in the 21st Century. Of course, this is the, we have to really, most of all, thank all the participating, global opinion leaders and, that my dialogue counterpart really had contributed significantly to this book that we've been able to edit and co-edit with Dr. Miao. I would like to introduce this book formally. I mean, we heard a great introduction from William and of course from Mabel, but I'd like also to go further on this book as well. I had a little PPT. I would like to share that. And so this is basically, today is we are approaching the end of the year, but let's really, China is also starting to turn around of this COVID, zero COVID, strategy now. And then really, I mean, we are having all those fascinating dialogues during this pandemic time. It's such a great occasion to really look back on that. So this book is really, I want to thank our publisher, Speak Nature again, for, and also Powergrave, Jacob particularly for his, insights and of course the vision to publish this book. And so Understanding Globalization, Global Gaps, and Power Shift in the 21st Century. This is really a book of a collection of the dialogues from a discussion of the CCG dialogue that took place last year, about 6 months time from March to October, which I think is also the first volume of China and the World series on the dialogue. And basically, this book aims to help the readers to make sense of the changing world by sharing the views of the global thought leaders on some of the most important issues of our time. And of course, they're relating to the US-China relations, global governance, climate change, and COVID pandemic particularly. So the theme of this dialogue is really the need of to set aside our differences and adopt the more global dialogues that we have to really engage. So this actually CCG Global Dialogue series, we see that is globalization is an irresistible force, also irresistible trend. Even though it can have setbacks, can have a deglobalization, but we believe that it has been shaped by many factors, forces, and from every corner of the world. So we believe globalization will actually continue the core component of this creation of a peaceful and sustainable world order that really contribute to the the benefit of the mankind. So basically, given the high stake of we're having now and for stability, continued growth, and the future of our planet, it is more important that China has to gain this deeper understanding for the rest of the world. And then, of course, this is part of the mission of the CCG, as we hear, is trying to bridge China and the rest of the world. And then that's why this is the purpose we launched this book, in this Global Dialogue series. And that, of course, we have a really a great, very impressive, highly respectful, and highly influential list of participants in the dialogues, including prominent journalists, authors, Nobel laureates, statesmen, former statesmen, and think tankers, and many of renowned scholars, and in the international relations, economics, and trade, and globalization. So this is really very important that we have those great dialogue. And also the series has attract an audience of hundreds of thousands of viewers in China and around the world. And so I think this book is great. And this is the first volume of our CCG Global Dialogues. We have actually conducted many dialogues, and we hope we'll continue the book once this first book comes out, and which is really great. For example, for the last 2 years, we have engaged with many global opinion leaders. I mean, the list is long, but we have some of them in our first book. but we'll continue to do with rest of this, people with dialogue as well. There was a very impressive list and very much that actually, their influence, their thinking, and their thought has a great influence in the world, and that's why we want to bring them their ideas and their suggestions and recommendation out to share with the audience, readers around the world. And also our book is open access that we can easily be downloaded to serve the needs with many readers. And those global leaders' voice, including of course Larry Summers, Hank Paulson, and also I'm actually going to have another dialogue with Richard Haass tonight. So we'll have all those great thinkers and leaders in the contest to really show that the global opinion leaders dialogue is with Chinese think tank is very important and timely and highly relevant. So actually, for the content of this book, basically, we divided this book into 3 parts with 10 dialogues that we have actually managed to edit and select in all. And those dialogues are wide-range discussions, offer unique insights and perspectives on key trends shaping our world in the 21st century. Basically, those includes the rise of China and the shift in geopolitics, as well as the evolving nature of globalization, transformation, transnational threats, and of course, multilateralism. So you see the part 1 is about the evolution of the globalization. And there's an interesting dialogue I had with Yale professor Valerie Hansen. We talk about globalization start about 1,000 years ago. Basically that was really very interesting dialogue we had. And also we had a dialogue with Martin Wolf, chief editor of Financial Times. And also we had a dialogue with Thomas Friedman, a famous columnist with New York Times. So those are really concentrated heavily on the evolution of globalization and how that can impact our world. And part 2 of this book is really how to bridge the gaps and deficits, understanding inequality in a globalized world. And I had a dialogue with Nobel laureates and Angus Deaton and his wife Anna Case, and of course our senior fellow David Blair as well. David was dean of Eisenhower College in the economic department and had many also great thoughts as well. And then of course the very impressive was the dialogue I had with Pascal Lamy, the former WTO Director General and now the president of Paris Peace Forum, and Wendy Cutler, the former chief negotiator of the TPP for the US. Very interesting, their idea of how trade and economic investment should be done. And of course, I had another dialogue with Carrie Brown, who's in the King's College in London and a very known China hand and expert. We'll hear from him later of this program. Third part actually of this book is really the power shift and great power relations. And we know that, with the power shift in the 21st century, the global south, all the rise of China, and of course all the BRICS country, ASEAN, and many other countries are really changing the dynamic somehow in the global arena. And of course, I had a dialogue with Joseph Nye and also dialogue with Graham Allison and Professor Li Chen there also. So it's very interesting to see how their view of these great power relations. And also had another dialogue with Adam Paulson. He's the president of the Peterson Institute, and Stephen Roy, the former U.S. ambassador to China, and John Thornton, the honorary chair of Brookings Institution, and of course Zhu Guangyao, the former finance minister, China's G20 Sherpa, very prominent in China. So all those, their thinking are really very interesting to understand how they say the world, how they see China and the US should work together. And of course, last but not least, I had a very impressive dialogue with Kishore Mahbani, where Willie has cited his famous saying of 193 country is not 193 boats floating, but 119 cabin. in the big gigantic ocean boat. So that's basically the content. We had many interesting dialogue points. I mean, just to quickly highlight a few, we had a dialogue point with interesting talk about with Thomas Friedman. He's saying the world is getting more tight, more fused, and more deep rather than also just flat. Very interesting. And we had a dialogue with Vanina Hassan. She said that the globalization started about 1,000 years ago. That's really interesting. Which we really, I think, we have to think deep. And China is actually the core of the center over 1,000 years ago in the Song Dynasty. Very interesting point. And of course, I talked with Martin Wolf, and he is strongly against decoupling. He said we can't decouple, we mustn't decouple, and we have to have a deep, good economic relation. This deep, good economic relation is a good thing. So he's really a very respected opinion leader, and he says we can't decouple, and unfortunately we're seeing some of the decouple going on, and so it's important to refresh his thinking as well. And of course, Ernst Deaton, Nobel laureate, he has also saying that we have to really work together, and people, we have to be cautious about the polarization. How we can really enlarge the globalization pie that we can benefit everybody. And of course, Wendy Carter, the former chief negotiator of the TPP, she actually thinking that the trade is really going to help, and she wants to see China and US work together in trade point as well. And same as Pascal Lamy, a strong supporter of globalization and of the WTO and trade with China as well. So very, very impressive message for them. Of course, Carrie Brown has also mentioned many good points that we're going to hear directly from him later of this program. And of course, Joseph Nye is really impressive. And, he as he says, he said, China does not pose an external threat to the United States, and the United States does not pose extensional threats to China. Absolutely, that's really a great point he's making. I really think he's such a wise man, and he spoke out, and this is very important. I mean, we're going to see more dialogue with him probably later of the year. And of course, Graham Allison, same professor from Harvard Kennedy School, where I spent some time there with them. Basically, he has said objective condition of 21st century has condemned the U.S. and China to coexist, since the only option is to destruct. So we have to peacefully live together. That's the only option, basically, he's saying. So, Steve Roy, said the same, the former U.S. ambassador to China. He has many very wise advice in this book as well. And John Thornton, a great friend and honorary chair of the Brookings, he's really, the ties between American and Chinese people are absolutely essential to getting a relationship where it needs to be. That's really a strong message, I think, from such a very knowledgeable think tank in the world. And of course, Mr. Zhu Guangyao, he's also a CCG advisor, the former vice minister of finance of China, China's G20 Sherpa. And he basically also said the same thing, that effective dialogue, communication, and we really need that. And so I think I want to conclude with the dialogue points with Kishore Mahbubani basically saying, the tragedy about China is that quite often on global challenges contribute a lot, but it's very good at marketing its contributions. So the world doesn't really know what China is doing. So I think, basically saying, we have to have a more understanding of each other rather than just on the surface. So basically, this book is a new book addition to the dialogue series, to the China globalization series that we had with Spring Nature, which we already published 5 books on that, and it's most of them are really open access as well, and the downloads are is well beyond 2 to 3 millions already worldwide. So we hope that this book series can help better understanding, and it's also a contribution from CCG of all the world leaders, ambassadors, multinational CEOs, chamber presidents, and of course global think tank president, and all of them, like our dialogue. Most of authors are like people we talk about in this dialogue. So this is what I want to share and talk about, and this is really great to really have such a great panelist today we have, and I really appreciate your coming, and we hope to hear from you now on this book. Thank you very much.